FM 94, The Dark. It is that time again. It's time to get to know a band we play here on The Dark. And tonight on the phone, I don't have one, but two band members from the band Bedlam, which just actually won the Rock in the Dark New Music Poll not too long ago. I have Paul and Mike on the line. And first of all, guys, thanks so much for joining me. And as always, welcome to The Dark.
Thank you, man.
Sweet, yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Hey, man, let's bring in Paul first right away, and let's get this thing kicked off. And, Paul, I really want to know more information about the band Bedlam, and how did this band all come about? I think you're kind of the founding member of this band. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, it's correct. Myself and my guy, Joey Brassel, we just started this band about 6 months ago, and we've just been hitting the ground running.
So that's just in a nutshell, right? Just like that. Boom. Let's get some of the background of you, Paul, and for our listeners out there that maybe they're like, Paul, who the hell is Paul? Give us a little more background of your, I guess, musical talent that you have out there. Don't be so modest, Paul. Come on now.
All right. No, I'm joking. I recently played drums for the metal band Trivium. I did over 200 shows, all the major festivals and all that. And then right when I was done with that, I just, started Bedlam. Before Trivium, I was in Rock of Ages, that hit comical 80s musical. I was out in New York. There's touring versions of it, and there was versions of it in like UK, Canada, stuff like that.
Very cool, very cool. So, Paul, obviously, you've been around a little bit. As you mentioned, you played 200 shows with Trivium, a lot of the festivals and that. So you've seen many, many bands along the way, and obviously seen many frontmen. Why did you choose Mike, who's on the line with us, to be your front man?
Because Mike's awesome, man. He's got a killer freaking vocal range. He's a great lyricist. He thinks deeply, and that's what we need. And then, obviously, we're from Chicago, so we needed someone that's from Chicago. And as a matter of fact, we're all actually friends. Mike and I were friends in middle school. It's kind of weird how some years later we're working together.
It's awesome to hear for once. I've been interviewing a lot of bands up and coming, and everybody's saying, "Oh, we found each other on like social media, Craigslist, you name it." That it's nice to actually hear that some of the members were founded because you guys were in middle school back in the day. That's cool. That's the way it used to be back in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, man, the guitarist and the bass player, we originally were called Bedlam when we were in middle school, high school. And then, we disbanded because we never found a good singer. We were kids, man. We were just kids. We didn't know what we were doing. And then, all these years gone by, I've been to over, 50 countries as a drummer, or just doing work-for-hire stuff. I also played drums for, Kill Hannah, a band called Parabel, which was the vocalist from Evans Blue. And, I just been working for so many different artists. I just finally was like, I want to start something that's my own, and why not do it with my friends?
Absolutely. Why not do that? You weren't getting picked up by the police there, by the way, were you? I heard the cops in the background.
Dude, I'm driving right now, and I'm following an ambulance. I don't know if I should be following an ambulance.
We're talking with Mike and Paul from the band Bedlam out of Chicago. And yes, there are sirens in Chicago. I'm sure a bunch. Let's talk about the name. You already mentioned it a little bit. I don't care who wants to chime in on this, but obviously it was a band name back in the day. Why did you bring it back, and what was the meaning behind the name to begin with?
Well, we were just a bunch of crazy kids, man. All we did was, party and play music all day, 24/7. So we were like, what would be a cool band name that kind of represents who we are? At the time we were big fans of Pantera, and Motley Crue.
Right.
So we always got a kick out of watching them with their behind the scenes hilarious footage of them. So we stumbled across Bethlehem, which is the first mental institution, and we were like, man, that basically sums up who we are as individuals. So we went with that name, and then, like I said, the band collapsed. Years have gone by, and then we were like, screw it, let's do it again, because no one took the band name. We looked all through trademarks and everything. The only person that had Bedlam was Kazi Powell, the famous drummer. He released one album, and that was it. And he spelled Bedlam with an A. That's the original spelling.
Right.
So we just think it's kind of ironic that we were able to keep that name and years.
Let's talk about that. I don't mention this a lot to bands, but how difficult is it to pick a name? Is it important to have a certain name or something, or doesn't it really matter? I guess, give me your opinion, both you, Mike, and Paul.
I think personally it's really important. I know tons of bands, including the singer of the band Kill Hannah told me numerous times, he's like, I regret so hard calling ourselves Kill Hannah because, now I'm an older dude and I realize it's kind of not the smartest decision,
Right.
So I think it's really important you pick a name that represents who you are as a cohesive group and stylistically,
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I think with, like a lot of punk, we all listen to punk too. They got some far-fetched names there, and it kind of sticks with the genre itself of what's appropriate for name and how influential it is with the actual band. I think with our genre and the name, it kind of signifies it's not super, super serious. We like to mess around and have fun, but
Right.
we also don't come out with songs that are, just about chips and weird things just to be weird. There's messages behind all of our lyrics. I think it kind of pulls the whole package together.
Well, let's talk about that. Your first song that at least we're hearing on these airways, Breath. What's the meaning behind that one for you guys? We're talking with Paul and Mike here. They're with the band Bedlam, and of course, as I mentioned, that first single. Give us kind of the history of that, and how did that all come about?
Mike can lead the way.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike.
As everything usually starts off, our guitarist, Joey Brassel, he comes out with the badass riffs, and we kind of feed off of them. It's actually really cool because everybody feeds pretty quick. That's while we're rehearsing for one song, all of a sudden he messes around, and we go, whoa, that sounds good. So Bereft came out, and just lyrically, I want to have stories behind it. I'm really big into reading and books, and I like lyric titles that don't necessarily, when you read a book, it doesn't necessarily say the title, and that's kind of what Bereft is kind of foreshadowing subject matter. The first line of every word is past tense, so it has a lot to do with, one thing I definitely don't want to put in any of my lyrics that I write, and there are lyrics obviously, is
Right.
When you listen to it, you don't sit there and say, oh, this is about this, politics or religion. You can literally say, this is what I feel the song is about, and that's kind of what every song that essentially, majority of what I write, that's what it's going to be. So it's really open for interpretation, but it's got a lot to do with past tense, and there's stuff in there. You just got to kind of listen and think for yourself. That's important.
Paul, I want to bring you in too on this, and the thing that I'm kind of curious about, obviously, being around a lot of different bands and stuff. Have you been able to get some help from those bands now to help your current project out, Bedlam?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm still friends with the Trivium guys. We talk every other day. I shouldn't be naming names, but yeah, basically, yeah, man.
It's okay. It's a name, hey, Paul. It's a name dropping world. Okay, that's what happens.
Yeah. It's building those relationships. And that's what helps. It creates a network.
Let me ask this question to both of you guys, okay? The status of rock and all that is kind of, it's up for interpretation, to be honest with you. As a programmer here, I have a difficult time at times when I get certain music sent to me. Is that something that my listener is going to want to listen to or not? Give me your, interpretation of rock right now. Is it kind of a up for interpretation question mark right now?
Yeah, definitely. I personally think there's not a big wave happening. I think there's all these subcultures of genres that are thriving. You look at all the summer festivals, there's obviously bands out there that are killing it, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for new bands, but it is probably harder than it was back in the day,
Right. What's your take on that, Mike?
I listen to so many different genres of music. Legitimately, a lot of the influences that I have come from other genres. It's not just rock and metal, but I love grindcore. I love extreme heavy metal, and as long as the fan's there and you talk to the right people, you're at the right place. There'll always be a network. There'll always be, it's just about how big it is. I think right now with, rock itself, like Alter Bridge and kind of that formula, it's got a bigger appeal to it just because of, measurements and the music itself. But
Right.
I think good music, there's fans for everything, man. So good music is good music. It doesn't matter. It's just crossways. It's hard to find that kind of music that appeals to heavy metal as well as, just normal rock and southern rock. So I think that's another thing we take into consideration too, is how can you bridge that gap to where everybody, it just happens that we love so many different styles of music. So
Right.
I think you can hear a lot of it in our stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm gravitated towards your music because we're playing it on our airwaves, and our fans were too because they voted for it. And I got to believe you got some pretty killer fans out there, like every band does, don't you guys?
Oh yeah.
And you have to have them. That's the reason why you're out there doing it, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
I mean, if it wasn't for them, you probably wouldn't have many gigs and doing this. And in fact, you guys have you got something coming out pretty soon here, don't you? Don't you have a new album coming out? An album actually coming out, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, we're gonna have a new album out in October. It's actually our debut record. Like I said, we started 6 months ago. We just booked a show. We're playing with Saliva September 20th. At Freak's old bar, Top Fuel Saloon. I don't know if you know who Freak is, but he worked for Mancow for a number of years.
Yeah, I do know that. Yep, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Freak's a big supporter. I just want to give a shout out to Freak. Thanks for the shot of Spiritus, bro.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you know what? That's the thing. You guys, you got to get going some way. And that's why I was kind of wondering if you got guys helping you along here to move on, since you're we can say you guys have been in the business for a while, but this is the infancy of this band, Bedlam. And obviously the first album, the debut album coming out in October. Can you give us some previews of that album, what we can expect on it?
I don't know how to say that, but
Yeah, we definitely won't follow the '80s format of 10 kick-ass songs and 2 ballads. We're probably only going to do one. But I think that the thing that you were saying earlier with fans, and doing it for the fans. Yeah, absolutely. We got some real strong community that follows us, and a shout out to all of them. They're badass. But the one thing that I think you can separate yourself as a band too is doing the music for what you truly enjoy, and when you're doing what you enjoy, everyone else feeds off that positive energy. So I mean, that's what the album's going to be. It's going to be what we enjoy, and you're going to feel that when you see us live. You're going to feel it when you hear it, and I think that's why it's taken off how it has, and again, the fans that listen to it.
I would hope every band has a goal out there to achieve. Some guys are out there maybe just to play music and to have people listen to it. Others are doing it for the notoriety and the fame. What are you guys kind of looking for, I guess, with this band as you move on?
we definitely want to make a name for ourselves and have us have our own thing. We feel like we definitely have our own sound, you know.
Right.
Some people compare us with, you know, a certain amount of bands, but we feel like we definitely have our own signature sound, and that's the best thing for us personally that we'd like to achieve. You know, we don't want to come out sounding like every other band, you know.
Right. Well,
and ride the wave of summer festivals and then be obsolete.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, you want to, obviously, down the road, say in 5-6 years when I'm interviewing an up-and-coming band, you want that band to drop to them, yeah, we're like a Bedlam, you know, that's who we are, you know, kind of, that's what you want. You don't want to become somebody else. You want somebody to become you, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And then for personal, too, I'll add to that, I always tell everybody in the band, I will stop when I walk the red carpet, man.
Is that buying a ticket or just getting a pass?
That's all open door interpretation as well.
Well, we're talking to the band Bedlam. We're talking to Paul, obviously the drummer from Trivium, and also we're talking to Mike, the lead singer. Let's talk about as we're touring. Is that something now? You mentioned the show coming up in September. Are you guys getting ready to finally put together a tour with this debut album and get out there?
Definitely going to look into that for 2018. Just for this year, we're just going to do some one-off dates here and there.
Okay.
So, yeah, but touring is definitely in the agenda.
So but the question I'm going to ask here for you, if you had to put together a tour, and let's make this fun. If you had to put together your ultimate 3-band tour, so Bedlam's going out with, let's say, 3 other bands. Who were those 3 other bands that are playing, let's say playing right now or currently playing, would you love to go out with? And we'll start with Paul. Let's start with you first.
Oh, man. Well, if Pantera was still around, I would say we got to school with Pantera. But, hey, they're not here, man, so what can we do? All right. I mean, if there was the option to do it, I'd say we'd want to tour with, Disturbed, Seven Dust.
That's cool.
Those are, yeah.
Okay, and then I'm going to add, and then I'm going to add to that question, too. If there was another band that maybe we haven't heard of a lot that you would like to bring along to on that tour, who would that be?
I would say the band Carnival from Australia, but I think everyone knows who they are.
I do know about them, yeah. But you know what? They really haven't. I mean, they have a good following, but I don't think they have a following that's just so blown up yet. You know what I'm saying on that? I mean, it's there, but it's kind of an underground following. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they tour much in the States, so I would love to tour with those guys.
I got a good one for that, actually. I'd say there's a very talented band that's going on right now, and they're starting to kind of rise up. There's Letters from the Fire.
Yes.
Yeah,
They actually.
Letters from the Fire.
Is that Alexis or whatever? That Alexa? What's her name?
I think it's Alexa.
Yeah, Alexa for the lead singer. But it used to be a lead singer. Used to be a man, if I remember right. It was led by
that. I didn't even know.
Because I think back in the day, they had a song that they did a cover of the Beatles, Eleanor Rigby.
Oh, that's cool.
And it actually did very well on rock radio, but then they decided to get rid of that lead singer, and now they brought in the female. And I've seen some of her stuff via at least the Facebook, and she's got one hell of a voice.
Yeah, she's got a really cool range. I'm actually a fan of her voice specifically.
You mentioned, Mike, her and that band is an up-and-coming band you'd like to bring with, but we don't know who the ultimate bands you'd like to tour with. Who are they?
I mean, Seven Dust would be cool. I think they got some cool melodies, and just they seem awesome. And then, I mean, like I said earlier, I love Iron Maiden. So just to be in the same breath and say, hey, I got to play with my idols, and you know, my brother's name is Eddie and all that. So I'm pretty sure my dad would be too.
Have you ever met Bruce or any of the bandmates from Iron Maiden?
No, I think the closest I've ever been to Iron Maiden is when they come in O'Hare, you know, being Chicago and all that. That's about it.
I met those dudes. I played a show. I played Grass Pop in Belgium when I was drumming with Trivium.
Right. Did they come in?
Pretty wild.
Did they come in on the 747?
I don't know about that. Probably. We played right before their set, and there was 100,000 people. It was insane, man.
What's that like, Paul? I mean, you're one of the few guys that have talked to that actually has played in front of 100,000 people. Well, what's that like?
Dude, it's awesome. Actually, I ran into a friend at the grocery store today. He's like, hey, bro, do you remember me from Auto Mechanics? He's like, what's it like playing in front of 1,000 people? And I was like, I don't know, man. It's kind of like, it's the opposite of what you would think. I think you play more focused. You know, that adrenaline hits you so hard. I basically told him, you don't have to do drugs or drink, man, if you play those kind of... Say, like, the adrenaline hits you so hard, you probably play better than you would at a venue that, you know, has, I don't know, 300 people or something. I don't know.
Right. No, I hear you. That would be awesome, man. You know, you mentioned the Iron Maiden. That actually Bruce's son is now the lead singer for a band called As Lions. Have you heard of those guys before?
Yeah. I just saw them play at the Forge in Joliet, Illinois.
Okay, yeah.
And we played a lot of shows with those guys.
But I want to talk about that As Lions for a minute, because obviously, and that's the drummer's actually Slade's son from AC/DC, if I'm not mistaken. That's who it is. And then Bruce's son is the lead singer. I can't remember his name, but we met the band, actually myself and a couple of my buddies. We met Stephen Whiting, which is one of the bassists for the band, at a concert in La Crosse when they were playing with Shine Down and Five Finger and 6 a.m. So it was a really killer show, but watching them play I thought they did one hell of a job. So there's an up and coming band.
Singer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a cool dude, and he got a start on drums. And yeah, like I said, I played tons of shows. A lot of shows with those guys overseas with Trivium.
Hopefully that's a band that is up and coming, just like the band Bedlam, too, which we got on the air right now. We got to wrap things up here, guys, but I guess we want to get into how people can find out more information about your band, and, of course, also the most important thing, how people can get a hold of that new debut CD when it comes out in October. So give us the lowdown on that.
Everyone can go to bedlamofficial.com and find us on any social media, like Facebook, Bedlam Official. Anything related to the album, they can just, if they subscribe to our official website or just follow along on the website, they'll know as soon as it comes out. You can do the pre-order and everything.
And that's Bedlem. That's not with an A, it's the E.
Sounds great. How's the traffic in Chicago, by the way?
Sucks.
Great.
Yeah, what?
Fantastic.
Yeah, sure. Somebody's in their living room and the other one's on the highway. There's the truth and the lie, right?
Yeah.
Hey, guys, thanks so much for joining me. Once again, that's Mike and Paul. The band is Bedlam. Their latest song is called Breft, and you're going to hear it right now on The Dark. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
It's new music right now. It's from Bedlam. It's on The Dark and FM 94.